मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी।
My dear students, now we are going to start chapter on forging. As you are aware, this technology of metal forming processes includes forging processes, rolling processes and others. Next we would show you the slides for the different processes, but in this lecture of forging, that will continue maybe 6-7 lectures more to cover the whole course content that has been listed on the e-content course. We are going to start the topics like the different types of forging process and the products that we can manufacture with the help of these processes, a little bit historical backgrounds and others. So, if you recall back the first lecture where we covered the broad aspect of the whole course and the role of technological aspect of metal forming, as we have already seen the mechanics of metal forming. So, the mechanics part we have already covered. So, we are now in the process of technological processes to deal with. So, as you are aware of the course which the forging now we are going to start is starting with the introduction and all that, different processes of the forging and many other miscellaneous processes or unconventional processes of forging. Die design part, the forgeability aspects, especially for cold and hot forging, the forming equipments, forming defects, forging defects and closed die forging and all other things we are going to start with. So, as you are aware of the fundamental of forming processes, that when you apply load onto some workpiece so that it exceeds the elastic limit and the load becomes sufficient for the plastic deformation. So, in case of forging, where we come across some workpiece and we can forge the simplest form, if you recall the draft forging. You can see here this figure, this is the simplest video of draft forging, where very simple blacksmith operation is being shown. So, usually you can classify forging process in two major, as cold forging and hot forging. The cold forging is generally performed onto workpiece when the deformation is not very large and you require less load. The workpiece is also smaller. Where we go for hot forging, where the heavy deformation is required and the workpiece size is bigger and you require heavy load using some kind of hammers, heavy hammers, power hammers, or presses like hydraulic presses, screw presses and all those things. So, we call the forging process a massive bulk forming process, because when we concern with the hot forming, and you know the forging of hot forging especially, you carry out above 0.75 Tm, the basic, a very crude way to have the temperature of the under hot forging process, that it should be around 0.75 multiplied by the melting temperature of the workpiece material. So usually if you look at this slide where you have the classification of forging, say you have a closed die forging, where you closed die forging with flash, without flash also it can be. Then coining process is also a kind of forging process, electro upsetting process, forward extrusion process. So forward extrusion forging we call it, not so forward extrusion forging, backward extrusion forging. Hobbing is a very popular forging process. Isothermal forging, where we forge the workpiece under uniform temperature conditions. So that's the isothermal forging. Nosing process is also a category of forging process. Open die forging, rotatory forging, or it is also called as orbital forging. Then the precision forging, a different class of forging, when we call it as a precision forging. The metal powder forging, where we start with powder metal, we make compacts, we sinter it, and then we forge. So these sequences are integral and in a sequence, so that is how we call it as a powder metal powder forging. Radial forging, upsetting, etc. There are many such processes. There are a class which we call as unconventional forging process, we would deal later. So starting with this, the open die forging or hand forging, that the very beginning one can expect as the blacksmith forging. So in case of open die forging, as the name indicates, the forgings are made with the help of repeated blow in an open die. Here the operator or the worker manipulates the workpiece in the die during the blow process, similar to the traditional manufacturing processes which is used by a blacksmith, if you recall. There is another class which we say it as impression die forging or precision forging, as I said. So these forgings are the refined form of blocker forgings. Blocker forging means a block will have a number of impression on that, and the forging passes from one impression to the another impression on the same block. So the impression die forging or precision forging, which we call, is a refined form of the blocker forging. The finished metal part, it is much more identical to the die impression forging. The other class which is very popular in forging is upset forging. So these forgings increases the cross sectional area by reducing the length of the workpiece metal. The process is generally used to make heads on valves, bolts and fasteners and other similar parts. Generally, if you see, as far as the specification is concerned, the forging process which is used on metals, all these processes that we have mentioned, these metals must have a good ductility, first requirement. that the metals, whatever metals we are going to forge, must have a good ductility, such as like you choose a copper, aluminum, nickel, steel and magnesiums. So that has a very good ductility. The minimizing size, the material volume and complexity of the design can also reduce the cost of further. So if the size is smaller or bigger, the material volume is bigger or lower, and the complexity of the shape complexity of the forged component will reduce the die cost as well, and therefore it will reduce the cost, total cost of forging or the component produced by forging operations. Usually if you look at this, this is a press which is a power press, and there is a controller. So this it uses a drop kind of operation. As far as the varieties of parts are concerned, in drop forging, one can see here this slide where you might have come across the connecting rods, various types of connecting rods, crankshafts, wrenches, hooks, etc., that require very high strength and toughness. So all these components are basically produced by forging process, and that too the open die forging or closed die forging or combination of these. You know, for all kind of forging process, the die design is very important. In nutshell, when you design a die for different complex shapes, you must avoid the undercuts in the die design. Usually a draft of external draft of around 6 degree is preferred, and the internal draft of around 8 to 10 degrees is preferred, and proper fillets and corner radii so as to flow the material without any difficulty is also required, and the whole die must have a proper support in the form of webs and ribs, so that it has a good strength, because it has to suffer very heavy load during the forging process. So usually a die designer, what it does, depending on the type of forging it is to be forged, when he thinks of the die design, keeping these guidelines which I mentioned, the die design process starts with a blueprint. So one can make the master die first, and then out of that a plaster cast is made from the master die for approval, usually by a group of designer and experienced soft floor worker. After the plaster cast has been approved, the forging dies are made, and then it is properly heat treated, and that starts with the master die as a pattern. A bar stock is generally chosen for the manufacture of forgings. The complicated forging dies will have certain mountings. It is and then it is mounted in a hammer of a sufficient size to form the forging. Usually the bar stock is cut into lengths appropriate to the dimensions of the workpiece material for the forging, and then the length of the material are heated if it is hot forming in the forging furnace. So this is the usual way, and then each length is pulled from the forging furnace by the hammerman using tong, and it is placed in the blocker area of the forging die. We would see what is a blocker. The hammer is then activated for several blows, as I had shown you the slide a hammer, power hammer there. And after that the rough formed forging is moved to the finisher area of the forging die. The hammer is again activated once again for several blows, so that the final dimensions are achieved. At this point the forging is fully formed, but still has a flash attached to it. So this flash is the excess material around the forging. The forged piece is then the flash is removed from the forging dies by a trim man. We call it as a trim man, and it is placed in a trim press. A few blows are again necessary to remove the flash from the forgings, and thus the totally completed forging is then placed in a cooling bin. The cooling bin may contain liquid to empty with or having certain specification provided on the blueprint supplied. And once the workpiece after forging is cooled, the forgings are placed in a wheel boater with the steel shot to clean off the scales and discolorization which is formed in the forging process. And you can look it here, the some of the steps which is shown mentioned here. So this is the what say a usual sequence of forging, especially hot forging. Usually any forged metal can result in certain points that one can mention here. So any forged metal can result into number one, increase in length, decrease in cross section, and this is what is called as a drying out of the metal. So it can result into drying out of the metal. It can decrease in length, it can increase in cross section, and this is what is called as the upsetting process. So decrease in length and increase in cross section is called as upsetting, and increase in length, decrease in cross section is called as drying out. And it may result change in length, change in cross section by squeezing, and just like the process which is in impression dies, this result in favorable grain flow for the strong part. So squeezing in closed impression dies is also very for better strength is required. If we look back the different issues of metal forming industries, we find that there is a lack of experienced metal forming engineers, because the metal forming techniques, metal forming knowledge, it comes through experience, it comes through design experience, it comes to practice experience and all that. So we find that there is a lack of experienced people, especially the forming engineers, metal forming engineers. And also there is a demand for the short product life cycle products. The new metallic materials are getting developed, and there is still development of new hybrid processes therefore to meet these requirements. Also the high accuracy and small feature of the products, etc. These are some of the current issues of the metal forming industries that are passing through. And as far as if you look at this, uh, some of the products where the precision cold forge products are shown. Now you can see the complexity of the forgings, and very precisely produced as far as the dimension is concerned, as far as the quality is concerned. These are very important issues. So you look at this is what is the cold forge products. So cold forge, as I told you, it is done at around the room temperature, and it requires very heavy load for deformation, but the precision, the tolerances that is obtained, as well as the surface finish, is very good as compared to the hot forging products. Usually smaller components are preferred. You can look at the very complicated shapes here. Similarly, there are another category which we call it the precision hot forging of the complex shape. You can see these are produced by hot forging, which is precisely made like these gears, bevel gears, and all those things which have got a very complex shapes in it. So this shows the forging capability under cold as well as hot forging. If you go back as the historical development of the materials, because the forging process development has been coupled with the different types of material development. So that is how today, as the new materials, light materials are being developed, we require a different varieties of forging processes to deal with. If you remember the Egypt around 3100 BC to 300 BC, where around one can say around 4000 BC in Egypt, the metals that developed as the gold, copper, and meteoritic iron, and that was using only the hammering processes. So a very early starting of the forging process, which was hammering. Then in Greece also there has been around 4000 to 3000 BC, generally uh, uh, copper castings, stone and metal molds, loss wax processes, silver, and all these things developed. And that case, the stamping and of jewelry, generally it was being produced. So jewelry by stamping process it was used in Greece. Around there has been report like Roman Empire, which lasted around 500 BC to 476 AD. Then the Middle Age around 476 to 1492, and Renaissance period when the 1400 to 1600 centuries. These all cover the early days of material development. And if you see the bronze casting, the cast iron and cast steel stampings of coins that around developed around 1000 to 1 BC, and zinc steels was another material which was very popular for armor and coinage forging, and the steel swords was also very common during 1 AD to 1000 AD. And when the blast furnace developed for producing metals and castings of the bells and powder around 1000 to 1500 AD, and then the processes that was the wire drying of gold and silver smithing. So it is all very early stages of the historical development of related to forging. The second phase, when the industrial revolution took place, that was around 1750 to 1850. So if you look at this, the where the cast iron cannon and tin plate was developed for and the processes that use the water power for the metal working was used, because the water and then rolling mill for coinage etc. was also used. And then 1600 to 1700 AD, then 1700 to 1800 AD, and 1800 to 1900 AD. It shows this table the developments in metal forming processes like the rolling, shape rolling, extrusion, deep drying, and all those things. So I am not going in details of this because the forging we are concerning now. If you look at this, the modern age, where the World War I and World War II afterward, that is 1982 to 1920, and then till today 1980s, where 1950 to 1960 is called as the space age, where most of the ceramic materials and modular iron developed, semiconductors and continuous casting process developed. So this shows this table a little bit the modern age development of materials. Now if you look at the 1970 to 1980s, where the compacted graphites, vacuum casting, and the originally bonded sand automation of the molding process and all that occurred. If you see there the forging, especially the precision forging, isothermal forging, superplastic forging, die design for by analytical method also developed, and net shape forging or forming was very popular around 1970 to 80s. So with this, now let us see this slide where you have a power hammer. This power hammer is actuated by your foot, so you can actuate the stroke of the power hammer, and on the right hand side it is a bigger, around more than 1 meter and around half inch diameter casting. It is being forged, that is hot forge. So on the right side it can be rotated. So this is a very good example for showing you a drop hammer forging by power operation. So it is a power driven hammer, so that is how it is also called as the power hammer forging. So in forging, if we take the open die forging, what happens if the diameter of workpiece or billet is taken as D, height is H. So you have two platens, upper platen and lower platen. So it has, if you apply load, so you reduce the diameter, you increase the diameter and you reduce the height of the forging. So you forge it. So number of blows will go on reducing the height, and will go on you can mark here there is a barreling in the middle. It happens because the die interfaces, the platen that is interfaced with the workpiece has a friction. So the deformation, as the friction boundaries are less at the two ends, and therefore where the free end at the middle, it will expand more, and that is how we get the barrel shape here. So if you look at the diameter D, it reduces D1 and then D2, and that is how a very simple open die forging of a disc. Or this case shows the impression die forging process operation, where you have now, in the previous case, the upper plate and lower plate did not had any impression. Now here you have impression. These impressions are partially in upper die and partially in the lower die. So one by one blows are there, and these impression will get filled in subsequent operation. You can see here. So the last one, the whole impression is filled and the flash comes out. That's how we call it as the impression die forging. So you look at this one where we have a forward extrusion forging, where it reduces the slug diameter and increases its length to produce parts such as stepped shafts and cylinder, etc. You can see here. So it's an example of forward extrusion forging. In the second figure, it shows the backward extrusion forging, where the steel blows back and around the descending punch to form cup shaped pieces like here. And this is a very good example where you produce bum cell. So you make bum cell where you put the explosives and close the other end, and that is very popular for and the third one, which is the upsetting or heading process, where a common technique, it's a upsetting or heading is a common technique for making fasteners, gathers steels in the head and other sections along the length of the part. Alright, so you can see here it's being again, and the head comes into, mostly the bolt heads are produced very often with this process. Now look at this figure where you have a impression die block. You see, in this block, the upper portion of the block and the lower portion of the block have got number of impressions, and these impressions are very arranged in a very particular manner depending on the design, the part to be produced. So this figure shows the impression die forging and the corresponding product that results from each impression. It passes from one impression to the another impression, and finally this is an example of connecting rod where you have. So you see, you start with the number 1 impression, impression number 1, where it is on the right side. So you have started with the billet, round billet, you get the 1, and then after 1 the workpiece 1 is again kept at like a location 2, so you get a 2 impression 2, you get the 3, 4, 5. So the 5 you get the last one, 5th one, the impression number 5, which is the finishing one, and after that you have to trim and all that, and that is what, this is the final product you are going to get it. So this is what shows an impression die block having 2. This die block, depending on the complexity of shape, it may have in 2 pieces, it may have in more than 2 pieces. We have seen a die block having 3 or 4 pieces also in case of a very complex. So usually in 2 pieces the bottom die remains stationary, and the upper die, it moves along with the press or hammer or whatsoever, and that is how the speed is generally slower here. This die block is mostly used in case of hot forging. So if you see that, this is what one can produce a connecting rod having mold with a main bearing hole in its large end, so as to the metal flow runs along the connecting rod's entire body, and with use of special materials one can succeed in producing the connecting rod with extreme intensity and durability. So, you see here the base product, and then you can also produce hole, you can mark the flow of the metal during the impression, and that is how the flow is very good, and that gives very high strength to the forged materials. This is another example which is very popular example used in most of the houses where the hinge. So, this is a door hinge assembly. So, you can see the forging process is used as the hot impression die, and size is around 120 inch mm length, weight is around 0.8 pound or kg, 0.8 kg, and generally of aluminum it is, having tensile strength has 480 megapascal, yield strength has 415 megapascal. After you forge, then you require secondary operations like machining and assembly, because it is in two piece, and then after you require some kind of heat treatment. For an example, for this case T73511 heat treatment is carried out. Then you require certain surface treatment like powder coating and all that, and this consists of two piece forging for making the assembly, that is the door hinge assembly, and usually you can also produce with casting, but the quality of the cast door hinge is very lower than the forged one, and it has a very great demand, and that is how I thought to show you the complex shape of forging. If you see the